Welcome to another reading from the Science of Mind magazine, The Daily Guides. As many of you know, I'm an assistant minister at Creative Life Spiritual Center. The other assistant minister is Reverend Lisa Ryan. She reads every morning at 9 o'clock from a different publication. Our senior minister is Reverend Dr. Jessie Jennings, and we have a staff minister who supports us. She's based out in California. Her name is Reverend Katie Roxbury-Gatti. I had every intention of starting this at 5 o'clock, and then, of course, life gets in the way. But today it got in the way in a good way. You know, my wife and I have been feeling a little bit under the weather the last few days. I know I sound nasal. I sound a lot worse than I feel. I feel pretty good. Not 100%, but I feel pretty good. And then my daughter-in-law called just before 5 o'clock to find out how we were doing. And of course, when it's a fairly close relative, I always pick the phone up, or actually answer it now. You don't really pick a phone up anymore, mostly, do you? But anyway, so I answered the call, and then 20 minutes or so later, around about 5:20-ish, we get off the phone together as she arrived at her destination, which was Walgreens, as it turns out. I'm not advertising for Walgreens. If you're wondering what my T-shirt says, because it's probably back to front for you, it says the Woodlands Area Chamber of Commerce Taste, and it should say Taste of the Town. And what is Taste of the Town? This is a free plug for the Woodlands Chamber, I guess. Taste of the Town is an annual event that the Chamber puts on in the Woodlands, where lots of area restaurants come together for one afternoon and evening, and you pay one fee and you get sample of all different kinds of food, plus you get a couple of free drinks. If you drink alcohol, you get a couple of bottles of beer, I guess, and sometimes they have wine samples and so on. So that's what this is. It's a good event for the chamber. It's also a very good event for the whole area around here, because people love it because of all the different kinds of food you can go taste, and you can go back as often as you want and taste the samples, and they have everything pretty well. It's a really good event. I wasn't meaning to advertise that at all, actually, but there I ended up doing so. Let's get back to today's reading, which is really why I'm here, right? Called Challenges of Vanity. I don't know about you, but all of us, I think, have suffered from periods of vanity, and it's not always turned out to be a brilliant experience, right? Because vanity, well, you kind of get caught up. It's where your ego is in charge and you're moving along. Anyway, Challenges of Vanity. Let's see what he's got to say. There is nothing which vanity will not desecrate. There is nothing with which vanity will not desecrate. And that was Henry Ward Beecher. And Ernest Thomas said, there are no enemies external to our own mind. In other words, vanity is generated from the inside out, and it really doesn't serve us, right? And that's from the Science of Mind textbook, and it's on page 441. I did not read the surrounding text to that quote. I often do. The story today starts, well, the reading today starts with a story from the famous Roman, I guess, poet. I don't know if you could really call him a poet, but wit. Aesop. There is an Aesop's fable about a crow who found some cheese in a window and helped herself to it. Well, that's what crows do, I guess. While enjoying it up high on the branch of a tree, a fox caught the scent of the cheese and came to the foot of the tree. He was thinking he had no need to look further for breakfast. The fox asked the crow for a piece of cheese, but the crow went on eating, so the fox tried flattery. "Oh, charming creature, what beautiful feathers you have! You must be intelligent, and no doubt you have a beautiful voice that would make you sing like the queen of the birds. If only I could hear that wonderful, beautiful voice, I'd then know for sure that you really are the queen." Listening to these flattering words, the crow forgot all her suspicion as well as her breakfast, for she found the thought of being called Queen of the Birds just too alluring. She opened her beak wide and let out a caw, and down came the cheese, straight into the fox's opened mouth. The flatterer lives at the expense of those who fall prey to them. Not everyone has your best interests at heart, so beware if flattery flies your way. The fox used the crow's vanity against herself, while the crow, being an intelligent creature, nevertheless, she fell for the adulations and left herself looking foolish. Reverend Christian admonishes us, be careful vanity doesn't overtake your wisdom and your common sense. Otherwise, your sanity can become severely compromised. You want to be careful not to allow your vanity to lead your decision-making process. The giant of gentleness within calmly sees the larger picture and doesn't allow reason to fall into the quicksand of vanity. As I said, he doesn't mention per se that it's the ego we're talking about, because as I mentioned right at the beginning, when you're falling prey to vanity, you're actually falling prey to allowing your ego to be in charge of what's going on. Some pundits and some, quote, wise people, unquote, have used the term edging God out for egos. That ego is an acronym for edging God out. Well, I don't really like that. Well, number one, it's negative. But number two, it implies there's something wrong with the ego. And then even worse, some people talk about the death of the ego. Well, I know in a lot of spiritual traditions, they're trying to kill the ego. But in reality, they can't do that. At least they can't do that and continue to live on this plane of existence, because it doesn't work that way. If you live on this plane of existence, you need an ego. You need an ego to interface with the outside world. It's just the way it is. That's what it's all about. We need to be able to separate in this realm of existence. We need to be able to separate one thing from another. I need to know that I'm separate from you, and you need to know that you're separate from your neighbor. You need to know that you're separate from the tree. You know, and to a lesser extent, all the animals of it. The cat needs to know that it's separate from the dog, for instance. Although in our household, you kind of wonder what's going on sometimes between the cats and the dogs. Cats plural, dog singular. So I think the place to work is actually on being in control of our ego. And I really love that example or that metaphor that I've seen before, and I've mentioned before quite a few times, which is the idea of the coach and horses, where the horses are the ego. And when the horses are in control, the coach can go anywhere. But when the coachman, your higher self, is in charge, then you direct where you're going, and you direct the ego. And I think, to me, that's a much better way of looking at it. And I think the affirmation is kind of metaphysical, really. But maybe most of our affirmations are metaphysical, not all of them. I appreciate the good that is said about me, or remaining centered in who I am. And it's important to actually accept the good. It's not good to reject things that people say that are good about you, for two reasons. Not just from a personal standpoint. If somebody says something good to you, say, wow, you really, for instance, like my wife, I say, Or my daughter-in-law, that would be a good example. I say, wow, Carol, you really organized that trip to Washington incredibly well, which actually she did, the one we went on in January. If she turns around and says to me, no, it's nothing, no, I really don't need that, then I feel rejected. So if you don't accept somebody's true values of what you're doing, then you're rejecting them, and it doesn't make them feel good. But also, you got to remember this: we do deserve recognition for what we've done, but recognizing that that at the end of the day, the power doesn't come from us; it comes through us. We use the power, so it's good and it's healthy to accept praise, but it's also good to put it in perspective. And it's not good to have your ego blown up and somebody's praising you. It's to say, yeah, I did that really well. I appreciate that. And then to move on and not to keep floating in it, you know? At least that's what I think. You know, like Caitlin Clark, this, you know, Wonder Woman basketball player, you know, providing she accepts it, the praise that is, and knows how to use it, that's fantastic. But you and I have seen lots and lots of big stars going to major ego, and it's been their downfall. You know, we've all seen it. I don't want to quote any specific people here, but people who've got important in life, whether it be the film stars, politicians, or sports people. And you see the ones who've accepted the praise of people and done well are the ones who've accepted it and just moved on, and it's not gone to their heads and made them really big-headed. Because at the end of the day, you know, we're all good at something. Every single one of us is good at sometimes many things. So we don't have ownership over everything. Am I supposed to be preaching? I don't know. Do I fall down in the ego trap sometimes? Of course, I'm human like everybody else, but hopefully I pick myself up, dust myself off, and I carry on again. So that's my message for today. It's coming up to the weekend, and maybe tonight you could split this affirmation into two. I appreciate the good that's said about me. I remain centered in who I am. I appreciate the good that's said about me. I remain centered in who I am. Let's see if we can remember to use this tonight before we go to sleep. Wouldn't that be a cool idea? You know, nothing much more to say, except I'll be back tomorrow around about 5 o'clock. Reverend Lisa will be on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Looking forward to Sunday. We'll have our Sunday service at 11. It will be online. It will be in person. I keep pleading with people, if you live in the area, then please come back in person. I know it's really convenient to sit in your chair, maybe have some coffee, who knows, maybe in your pajamas and watch the service. But it's really a different experience to be there in person. Some people can, but if you can, come back. And also, as we keep building up our congregation back to what it was before the pandemic, the ones of us who attend there feel greater and better because the people we knew before are coming back again and can all support each other. So hope you got something out of this reading, and until next time, just remember, I've not said this for a long while, the light of God surrounds us, and the love of God enfolds us, and the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us, because everywhere we are, God is, and all is well. So until next time, namaste.